We're here with Sue Dobson, who's one of two Bridleways development officers for Essex Bridleways Association. So Sue, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Right, well, my role really consists of trying wherever possible to create new bridleways, I suppose, in a nutshell. Bridleways creation is a difficult subject in some ways because of the funding constraints with Essex County Council, who are the authority responsible for public rights of way. It's no secret that they have under lots of budget cuts, etc., and public rights of way are not highest on the agenda. We therefore have to be a little bit more creative, I think, with how we go about this. One of the ways that we have been looking at is many district councils within Essex are now drawing up their local development plans. They are basically policy documents which set out where development is going to go over the next 15 to 20 years. Within that comes infrastructure, comes rights of way, becomes all the different, really the whole aspect of spatial planning, which is covering a particular area over a certain period of time. By law, these are subject to public consultation, and that's where I come in. I look at the plan, I look at what's proposed. Many of these plans do encompass large housing developments because of the government targets for Essex and the South East. And it's here where we normally try and make our gains. After all, housing developments means lots of funding from developers, and if we can get bridleways included within these large developments, funded by developers under what's called a Section 106 agreement, as a condition of their planning, then that is the tack that I try to work on with those plans. They are very large. For example, the Malden one is currently undergoing examination, and it's about 150 odd pages along with various other maps. It's quite a long drawn out process and you feel like you're not getting anywhere, but these bridleways, if we want to get bridleways, we have to sort of look into it at the ground level, because it is easier to get them included within policy right at the beginning, instead of trying to retrofit, so to speak, on anything that's further, happens further down the line.
And the infrastructure is going into the larger developments anyway, isn't it? So you say that walkers, for example, and cyclists are often catered for, but what you're doing is trying to raise awareness as well for the fact that horse riders and carriage drivers have a need too.
Absolutely. These plans are based on something that's called the National Planning Policy Framework, which is the government planning edict, if you like, under which these plans have to conform. The NPPF, as we abbreviate it to, caters for walkers and cyclists. It's a fault that we consider of the NPPF that doesn't actually specify equestrian access, which is perhaps something that we need to look at a later date. But obviously, government guidelines, it's how we go about that is another conversation entirely. So our way of looking at it is to come back to the planning officers and say, look, hello, we are here, we have a need. And in my experience over these dealing with these planning officers in the various district councils is that they're not anti-horse, they just simply hadn't thought of it.
Yeah.
They just don't realise that there is a need for off-road riding. I mean, for example, in Malden, it has the worst bridleway provision in the whole of Essex. Only 7% of rights of way in Malden are bridleways. Now, if you consider the sheer size and the openness, if you like, of the whole of the Malden district, that's a terrible thing to not have that access when you have such a wonderful open space. And I'm sure the planning officers, they just we just didn't realise.
Yeah.
So.
You were saying also that there are other areas that you've looked at regards to quarries and also towpaths?
Yes, for example, taking towpaths first of all, my patch, for example, covers a very large section of the Chelver and Blackwater navigation. There are bridleways part way along that section, but for the most part, the whole of the river between Malden and Chelmsford is purely walkers only. There was a consultation recently held by the Canals and Rivers Trust to which we responded, and I'm in the process of following that up as far as asking for ultimately what towpaths, who were towpaths originally designed for?
Yeah, horses.
Horses.
Yeah.
And what a terrible thing that horses are now no longer allowed to be on towpaths.
Mm.
As far as quarries are concerned, again, Essex is a prime area for sand and gravel extraction. These applications, they are very, very long drawn out. They can take years to come to fruition. So in some ways you feel like you're not getting anywhere. But what I am most interested in are really once a quarry comes to its end of its useful life, all the gravel has been extracted, and then the operator has to put in what's called a restoration scheme, which, as it says, is really how are they going to fill the quarry, the voids in, with what, how it's all going to be managed, and ultimately what is that land going to be used for at the end of the day. Again, these restorations can take 10, 15 years to do, but the groundwork has to be done with the operator to put in a restoration scheme, which is where I come in.
Well, it's very important work on behalf of all riders in Essex. Is there anything that the horse owners can do themselves to support the work that EBA does in relation to these planning developments, or is there any other way that they can assist?
Really, the local riders are our eyes and ears in all the various pockets of Essex. I work from Chelmsford. I know Essex quite well, but the local riders have the local knowledge. If they know of something that's coming up, that there is a development planned, or there has been a bridleway that's liable to be altered, diverted, downgraded, whatever, please tell us, because whilst we may not be able to do anything, if we know, we may already have been informed, but not everything gets through the system, and I would urge anybody who really notices something or sees a consultation in the local paper or whatever, send me an email, say, have you seen this? If I've seen it, great. If not, I'll look into it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Sue. That's been really interesting, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I will try.